I also liked in one of your ads, you talked about preparing women for the most important job of all, which was to be mothers and to raise the next generation. Because that is a question that's out there. Like, should women, girls go to college? And obviously, I don't think there's any detriment to going to a school like NSA. But obviously, as you discussed so well in the Meet Beg Ed ad, that like there's things that'll cost you if you go to public school. So
Yeah.
maybe talk a little bit about that dimension as well.
So yeah, so I think there's kind of a ditch on either side of the road when you're speaking about like how a woman ought to be preparing herself, particularly as she steps out of high school graduation and how she should be um, what she should be pursuing. On the one hand, I think you have a real problem with um, basically treating women as if they're indistinguishable from men and that they should be held up to the exact same standards as men. Because what tends to happen is, this is at the root of abortion, is we have pathologized the female body and said that if you can't perform everything exactly like a man does, then you're somehow deficient and wrong, and falling short. And so if a pregnancy gets in the way of you pursuing a career the way a man does, then we need to be able, you have like a constitutional right to have that thing removed
Mm,
so that you can be performed the way a man does. I think that's really a problem.
yeah.
And professionalizing a woman's aspirations, where if you are not holding a career like a man, you're somehow less of a person, I think fails to understand that a woman is different than a man.
Mm,
And so I want to be really, we want to be careful about that. On the flip side, I think that the downs where we've gone wrong is a lot of people have said, okay, so if a woman shouldn't be pursuing a professional career, then she shouldn't be pursuing an education.
mm,
And by doing that, we make education and career synonymous. And I don't think that that's the way they're supposed
mm,
to be. I think an education is the formation of the person. And I think to be a woman of great excellence can require a great and profound education. And I would say I've learned so much of this actually out of just being married to my own wife,
mm.
who was that guinea pig for the whole classical ed movement. I found a great bit of gratitude and thanksgiving for the fact that I'm married to a woman of great intelligence and who has an ability to think clearly and who has been educated to a very high level. It's for her, it is not a career focus; it's a person focus. It's to be who she is and particularly to be a wife to me and to be a mother to my children. She wrote a book a couple years ago called Eve in Exile, which is
I
now
saw
a
the documentary.
documentary. Yeah, and those works really articulate, I think, her reflections on this subject. So I we believe strongly that the women in our college should get the same education as the men, should be pushed as hard, should be as intellectually challenged, and should be as educated. But we don't see that as needing the validation of a vocational track or a career in order to make it worthwhile.
Hmm.
So those are the two things that we're trying to kind of hold together, and it makes for a really interesting town, I think.
I think that's beautiful. I think so many of these discussions um, tend to one version or another of really low resolution. But when you frame it as higher education is for educating the person, not necessarily pre-professional or career, it
Yeah,
removes all of that and says no. Like a woman can and should experience the richness of becoming a full person and not be denied that, or not necessarily be go through a cookie cutter factor education preparing for dehumanizing career. Like that
yeah,
kind of way of framing it is like everyone should experience that, and you can see it as a universal good, not necessarily related to either sex, but that we is our almost birthright as human beings, maybe.
yeah. I think that that's exactly right.
So